Welcome to Parenting Unscripted. I am your host, Katie Collett, and today I have two wonderful guests joining me. They are Dr. Kelli Cedo, who is the Senior Director of Early Learning and Title I, and also Dr. Pam Hatfield, Senior Coordinator of Preschool. And by the way, they are with Norfolk Public Schools, who just happens to be a sponsor of this episode, so thank you so much. And ladies, you are returning guests, so thank you so much for being back here with us.
Thank you for having us.
So today we are going to talk a little bit more about getting people ready for preschool and kindergarten. We're going to get right into it, starting with supporting independence. So let's start, Kelli, with you. Why is it important to foster independence in the early years?
It is so important to foster that independence piece because it's a life skill. So they're going to need it in terms of making all those different decisions that they have to make throughout their whole life. So it's important that we build that capacity to make choices and to build that confidence that they will need as they're navigating this world and everything around them. And so when we think about independence, we're thinking about being able to be self-reliant, and we're thinking about confidence and being able to make decisions. So all of those really important things that they need as they continue to grow.
That's awesome. And Pam, what are some of the self-regulating skills that children would need to get themselves ready for preschool or kindergarten?
Sure. Just having those opportunities that help them to make those choices, be a part of the decision making in their little lives, whether it's helping to prepare lunch or prepare a meal, putting things together, deciding what activity they're going to do next. Being a part of the decision-making process and having choices is really helpful for that self-regulation and building those confidence skills, asking questions, just they're inquisitive anyway.
Yes.
So kind of leaning into that and encouraging them to ask questions about the world around them.
And I know, a lot of times when we're getting our children ready for preschool or kindergarten, we're thinking about naps because for us, we feel like naps are so important. So preschool, kindergarten, when do the naps go away? And how can you prepare your child for that?
So really, it depends on the child. Developmentally, children are, used to routines and, what that looks like throughout the day. So in the morning, they wake up, they have their routine, they have naps during the daytime. But when we see that children are able to kind of sustain activities without being cranky or upset throughout the day and for longer periods of time, then they may be able to not have that nap during the day. Yeah. But then there are times when little ones just need a break. And it might be that they are taking a nap, or they might just have quiet time where things are just kind of a bit more settled in their little lives. Early afternoon, right after lunchtime is obviously the optimal time for a nap. But when we think about little ones that are able to kind of, again, work through the day, participate in activities, not be upset, tired, cranky, then they're really ready to really not have a nap. If we see that little ones are able to kind of stay up later at night and be able to sleep well through the night, then they're able to then sustain not having a nap. But many children still need that break. They need that break to refuel, re-energize themselves, and recenter themselves.
I always think that the sweetest videos or pictures come from preschool or kindergarten when the parents have like a 3-minute drive from school to home and their babies are just zonked out after that day because there's so much happening that they may not be used to because they are constantly engaged, right?
That's right. That's right. We are very busy throughout the day in a preschool classroom. So typically, especially at the beginning of the school year, we often share with families that your little one's going to be tired when they come home. So, expect them to fall asleep, on that way home. And so it's really, a wonderful time of early childhood. And those naps do change because in kindergarten, they do not take naps anymore. So our 3-year-olds take naps, our 4-year-olds take naps, but typically towards the end of that 4-year-old year, they're kind of growing out of that. But we do encourage quiet time because we all need that opportunity to kind of be quiet and reset ourselves.
I think we as adults need to implement quiet time. That's just like a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of a break from the chaos of the day. To foster independence, obviously, we need to work through questions with our children so they understand what to ask for their own needs. Kelli, what are some things that you would suggest working on with your children prior to going to preschool or kindergarten? Questions that they may need to learn to ask so they can foster their own independence.
Sure, sure. You definitely want to build their confidence with asking those questions because they're going to have those adults in the room that they're going to need to ask, and they don't know them yet.
Right.
And they're having to build those relationships with them. And so ensuring that they're able to ask, if they need help with putting up their coat, if they're not sure where the bathroom is, if they're not sure about, getting something out of their book bag. So just making sure like that as a family and as a parent that you're thinking about what are the things that your child is going to do throughout the day at school and help them ask about those questions. And then how do you build a relationship with another adult? Because some of our children may not know how to do that, or they're all very unique and different. Every child, and that's when I was thinking about napping just a moment ago when we were talking about napping and we were saying, oh, well, some kids this, some kids that is absolutely true. So it's really about knowing your child. I had one that stopped napping at 2 years old. So it's like, and I was like, what in the world am I going to do with nap time? But then when they said, well, we have the opportunity for quiet time too. So I really think it's just thinking about, what are the things that the children or your child is going to have to do throughout the day, and working on those things with them also to ensure like, okay, it's all right to ask them if you're not sure how to do it. So and then practicing it with them and saying, ask me. So pretend like I'm your teacher and ask me about your bus pass or your backpack, opening it up and those types of things. And the little ones do ride the bus, except for our 3-year-olds. Our 4-year-olds are riding a bus. So that's a big opportunity for them to learn that independence too of how do you greet your bus driver, right? And introduce yourself because that's one of the first ways to start building that relationship.
And I think that's such a special relationship to have too. The kids love getting on the bus. We're going to talk more about preparing for preschool and kindergarten on the other side of the break. So be sure to stay with us. We will be right back.
Whether you're already working in education or aspiring to, then say yes to NPS. Norfolk Public Schools are currently hiring in the following positions. NPS offers the highest salaries and sign-on bonuses in Hampton Roads, plus a work lifestyle you'll love. Say yes to NPS.
Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted. I am your host, Katie Collett. And once again, we are joined by Dr. Kelli Cedo and Dr. Pam Hatfield, both of Norfolk Public Schools. We are talking all about preschool and kindergarten preparation. And before we left for the break, we were talking about getting our children feeling independent and building their independence. So, Pam, let's get to you on this one. What are some of the routines that you feel could be implemented at home to help our children work on their independence to get prepared for preschool?
Absolutely. So I think definitely the morning routine, getting up, getting dressed, brushing our teeth, combing our hair, eating our breakfast. Those are sorts of things that happen every morning. It's consistent, and children thrive on consistency. When they know what's going to happen, they feel more secure in themselves. Throughout the day, of course, going to preschool or going to school, taking those naps as we talked about, but coming home, eating dinner, taking a bath, getting ready for those evening routines, brushing a teeth again, reading a book, getting ready for bed. Being consistent with those practices really helps a young child to feel secure in themselves, but also capable and confident when they're going throughout the day. It just helps to build their resilience.
And give them an idea of what they are fully capable of.
That's
and
right.
It's nice to know, wait a minute, I can do this. I can do this on my own. A big aspect that parents are not quite used to when their kids are in preschool and kindergarten are the parent-teacher conferences. So let's focus on this for just a little bit, because that's really the first time that parents get that feedback, no matter what the feedback may be, about how their children are doing. So this is for either one of you, whichever one wants to jump in first. Let's talk first of all why schools hold the parent-teacher conferences.
Sure, and I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Pam. Parent-teacher conferences are a great way for families to get an opportunity with their child being there and the teacher being there to have a robust conversation around how the school year is going. And the schools want to make sure that families feel connected and engaged in everything that their child is doing. And, even though schools are providing communication on a daily basis through different modes, it's a whole nother feeling when you come in together and you're talking about the strengths of their child and how they're doing in the classroom, while also how we can work together to build upon those strengths and also address any areas where the child may need just that little bit extra of support. And so we really want families to know, like, those conferences are really about connection and really working together, because everybody at that table wants that child to be successful. And so that's one of the reasons why I feel like parent-teacher conferences are really effective and helpful.
And Pam, how often do the schools have them?
Typically, they have parent-teacher conferences twice a year, usually in the fall and in the spring. But certainly, anytime that there is a desire to have a conference with a teacher, parents can always reach out. Teachers reach out to parents and have those meetings as well. It's really important to stay engaged throughout the school year, knowing what your child is learning and what the next steps for them in their growth and learning are, and being in contact with the teacher and other support staff within the building that might be of need. That family engagement piece is extremely important. It doesn't just happen at school.
Right.
That engagement at home with families is important, and we want to, as educators, we want to help support that too.
Of course. So what should parents really expect to hear then, Pam?
When they're in a conference, the teacher will often share, what's going well, the skills that the young child is doing well in, areas that might need some additional support, suggestions, ways of addressing these needs in the home setting, offerings to other supports and resources. But really, it's a dialogue, but back and forth between the parents or the families and the teacher in the classroom, building that relationship. It starts early, and we want that relationship to continue throughout the child's academic career.
What questions, Kelli, should parents ask during the parent-teacher conferences? If you could make a wish list of everything you would want parents to ask, what would that be?
It really is unique to each family and each child, but definitely ask them about how your child is doing with interactions. In the preschool age, it's so important when we are thinking about self-regulation and social skills. And so just, typically as a parent, you're not getting an opportunity to see them engaging with 18 other children in a classroom and 2 adults. And so what a great opportunity to be able to say, how is my child doing interacting with other children? Is there anything that you would recommend that I do outside at home to help my child with those different types of interactions, whether they're playing outside on the playground with other kids or we invite folks over to our house? The other thing too, though, that I would recommend is asking about how your child is doing with their reading and their writing, because it is an early skill that's learned right away. And so we want to make sure that the family's able to have those that information and then also the tools at home to be able to continue that support. So that interaction with other kids and then that literacy component would be 2 things that I would recommend for parents to ask about.
What about you, Pam? What are your thoughts?
I really focused in on the social emotional piece, asking, wanting to learn more about their child. Are they able to ask for help when they need help? Are they able to problem solve with their peers? Are they able to get along? Are they able to share? Those sorts of things. Explain when they're not happy. When another friend takes a toy from them, are they able to verbalize instead of using other forms of communication, such as hitting or biting if they're much younger? And just kind of working through that. So just really helping them form the vocabulary, the words to share with others when they have their big feelings, because they do.
Oh, yes, they certainly do. And, I love to hear you say that you want parents to ask about the social emotional aspect of it, because even now my son is in a new school in 6th grade, and the relief that I felt when one of his teachers just shot me an email that said, I've not seen him alone all day. He's been surrounded by kids all day. I was like, oh, that did my mom heart really good to know, like, okay, he's being social. He's chatting with everyone. So if they feel like they're entertained and with friends and surrounded by people, you just feel better about it.
They feel connected in their little community. And even as a sixth grader, he feels connected in his community. So,
Yes.
I mean, we all want
Yes.
to. We all want to feel a part of the group, the part of the community that we're in.
Yeah.
And when we can teach that early, and how to maneuver through those social situations, it's just very helpful. And it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time and practice.
Absolutely. And when you feel good about where you're going because you know there are friendly faces on the other side, boy, it makes it so much easier to actually get there. We have so much more to talk about. We're going to touch on communication with school staff, the best way to reach out, and kind of the chain that it takes to get the answers that you may need for your child. We're going to talk about that more with Pam Hatfield and Kelli Cedo on the other side of the break. So be sure to stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back to Parenting Unscripted, where we are once again joined by Doctors Kelli Cedo and Pamela Hatfield of Norfolk Public Schools. We are laser focused on preparation for preschool and kindergarten. So let's jump right into it now when it comes to communication with school staff, because parents may not be used to having to communicate to really anybody else about their child up until this point. So Kelli, let's start with you. If your child is starting preschool or kindergarten, what kind of information should you be prepared to communicate to the school staff?
Well, there's quite a bit of information that comes at the beginning of the whole schooling component when you start to get into the public schools. So it's really important to know it is okay. Ask the questions, call the school, because they're there to provide support and they want to create that welcoming environment where you feel as though you can ask any question that you need to navigate those waters. And one of the first things is just registration, coming in and working through the registration packet. And so what we try to do on our websites is help with, how do you what do you need to bring when you go in to register your child? Because not everybody knows. And you want the families to know so they don't have to do it multiple times. We're all super busy and have a lot on our calendar. So we want to make sure. So one of the first things that I would recommend is, going to the public school system website is super helpful. Calling the school before you go in to register to make sure that you have everything that you need. That is what we're there for. So I would start with that. I know Pam would have some things to add too.
Sure. Just also adding, being reminded of the documents that you need. I mean, certainly an ID from the family members or the guardians, the parents, the guardians, birth certificate, proof of residency, immunizations, physicals, any other, if there's custody paperwork, any other documentation that might be important for the school to have for the child. But then also sharing, once you're with the teacher, more information about, what's important to know about your child. Utilizing that website is important. The division website, the school website, learning how to communicate. What are those modes and methods of communication as well? We can certainly expand upon that.
Yeah. So, what would you say are the modes of communication then? Because I know you have so many options.
We do.
How can you explain to parents who to call and when?
Absolutely. So if there's an issue within the classroom or something that the parent is concerned about with regards to the classroom, obviously the teacher is the first in line to speak with. If the parent does not feel like that particular situation is being resolved, then certainly the assistant principal, the principal, and then further, from there if needed. Typically, all of the questions can be answered from the teacher's lens, and the situations can be worked out. Sometimes it's just not understanding or not knowing or having the information and needing to know where to find that information. When we think about the modes of the communication, we think about cell phones. Many are very busy though. Families are not able to talk on the phone.
Right.
But we do have apps such as, for example, Class Dojo is a way to kind of message between each other throughout the day if needed, but a quick message about their child's, how the day is going or what activities or skills they need to practice at night, and things like that. Quick information coming out, newsletters from the school, from the classroom, teacher, from the school itself. Again, the website, communication through other modes, email, things like that. But there are many ways to get in contact with your teacher, but also having that conversation about what is the best way for the parent and the teacher as well needs to happen.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, I would say, ensuring that your teacher knows the best way to reach you.
Yes.
And they're going to want to know, is it a phone call? Is it a text message? Is it an email? What is the best way? And so just be ready to share, what those modes would be. And of course, there's always like the emergency phone numbers that are required, all those types of things. So there are things to think about. Who are going to be those folks on your emergency contact? Who are the folks that are going to be able to pick up your child if it's not you?
Right.
Because the school wants to ensure, number one, that all of our kids are safe. And we really follow a lot of processes to ensure that takes place. And it's not for any other reason than for safety and making sure that all children appropriately get in the hands of the adult that is supposed to have access to them at that particular time. But it's so important for the schools to know, from the parent, what is the best way for you? What is the best time for you? Because it's the same thing with the conferences. Parent-teacher conferences are meant to happen at the best time, also for the family to be able to fully participate.
So, Pam, what kind of questions for preschool? Let's focus on what you as a teacher would want parents to let you know about their child coming into school for the first time.
Sure. Their child's likes and dislikes. What are the things what are the routines that they have in place that are helpful? What are the words or the phrases that are shared at home that might be helpful for the little one to connect to? Just the activities that happen at home. Who's a part of their family? Family means different things. We have different components of our family. We might have a grandparent, or we might have an aunt or an uncle, and not a traditional mother or father. We just want to know more about them so they can feel safe with us as a teacher in the classroom, and making those connections throughout the day, because it's a part of the whole team. It's a part of the home and school connection, and we really, again, encourage that family engagement piece.
What about you, Kelli? What are your thoughts on that?
I am right there with Pam. I think, engaging the family in a manner that, once again, is we want to know about your child so they can create a sense of belonging in the classroom. There's a few other maybe skill-related items I would ask about, such as buttoning, belts. Can
that
they buckle their...
me out. It's like he doesn't know how to tie his shoes yet.
Yes, exactly. Those types of, it's so important, and they're learned, and you think about it, if you go all the way back to the littles, like when we start them starting to feed themselves and using this, well, that is important because that's fine motor. Well, guess what these pinchers do from feeding? They end up holding the pencil a certain way. So just things along those lines, of can they unzip? Can they button? Can they, do those types of skills that are so important, because we have little ones. Like our 3-year-old program, they're coming to us at 36 months on this earth.
That's not a long time.
And so them, once again, going back to that confidence when they get in the room and knowing that the teacher is really going to help to build that relationship and to get to know their child. So when the teacher does call and ask these questions, it's really about relationship building and making sure that the child has that sense of belonging coming into the room, because a lot of the teachers will use the information. Like if they find out that they have a dog, they'll be like, I heard about your dog, and what's your favorite thing about your dog, and it just starts that relationship, and the little one gets talking away because it's something that they love already.
Well, I'll tell you what, Doctors Kelli Cedo and Pam Hatfield, you did such a great job informing everybody today, and I know that everyone's going to be able to take a lot out of this episode. So thank you so much for joining us once again on Parenting Unscripted. I know we're going to have you back to talk so much more about preschool and kindergarten. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us for this episode of Parenting Unscripted. Remember, you can watch new episodes of Parenting Unscripted every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. I hope you have a great day. Be good.